Okay guys, Ironman Texas is coming up next Saturday, so I just wanted to share a couple tips that I think could help all of you. Number one tip is know that the transitions are different than your typical 70.3 in an Ironman. You actually get gear bags. So you're gonna get a morning clothes bag, you're gonna get a blue bag, which is gonna be blue bike, so remember BB, and then you're gonna get a red run bag. What that looks like is your morning clothes bag is going to be the bag that you put your clothes that you wear in the morning and you drop off and you can pick up after the race. So what I usually do is I carry my water bottles that I'm drinking on the way to the swim, as well as my wetsuit, swim skin, depending on what you're going to wear that day, goggles. So anything you need for the swim goes in your morning clothes bag. When you put your swim stuff on, then you take your clothes off and you put it in the morning clothes bag, and you'll be able to drop that off at the swim start. At the end of the race, you'll be able to get it at the village right at the finish of the race. Okay, so the blue bike bag, that is where you're gonna put all the things that you need for the bike. So what typically goes in there, it's your helmet, your bike shoes. Typically you can't keep your bike shoes actually on the bike. You're gonna have to put them on in the tent, and then run to your bike, grab your bike and go. And then, if it's your sunglasses, the nutrition you're gonna put into your pockets. Know that you drop off that bag along with your red run bag the day before the race when you're dropping off your bike. And then you will put it in a line where you need to remember, because when you're running out of the swim or you're running off from the bike to run, you need to know where to find that bag. So for the red run bag, that's going to be everything you need for the run. So you're looking at like your run shoes. Don't forget those quick tie laces, so you don't have to tie your shoes in transition. A race belt with your name on it, you're going to need that. And then of course socks, maybe a visor or a hat, sunglasses, and then any nutrition you're going to take with you. So extra salts, extra gels, maybe some sunscreen, maybe some extra chafe cream that you want to put on. And then everything else can actually go in the special needs. So these are two other bags that athletes use in Ironman that you don't use in a 70.3, and you drop this off on race morning. And what it is it's for incidentals or extra items you may need for the bike or the run. On the bike, you'll be able to access it about halfway through the bike, and in that I would always put like maybe your own nutrition, because the course doesn't have what you're looking to fuel with. And maybe you will put an extra tire, extra CO2, any things that you may drop or may need halfway through the bike. A sandwich if you're going to be taking your time out there, extra salt if you drop your salt. Then on the run, I often find people put maybe a new pair of socks if your socks get soaked from sweating, band-aids, kind of all those incidental things. And then again, maybe if you want your own nutrition, I typically have my athletes freeze their bottles if they are leaving their nutrition, because by the time you get to it, in the middle of the bike or the middle of the run, it will then become a slushy, or be then still somewhat cold, versus dropping off a bottle and it will just be warm by the time you get to it. Okay, race morning for Ironman Texas. Transition opens at 5 a.m. The race starts for the men, the pro men, at 6:25, with the age groupers starting at 6:38. You need to be at transition at 5 a.m. and the reason is this. It's quite a ways to walk to the swim start. So if you get to transition, you need to pump up your tires, you need to get your water bottles on your bike, make sure your bike is essentially ready to go. That's going to take you about 15 to 20 minutes. Maybe you need to go to the restroom again. Then after that, you're going to walk for 15 minutes to the swim start. So now we're looking at 5:40, right? And then from there, you still have to put on your wetsuit or swim skin, depending on what it's going to be able to relax a little bit. And you will find that people are going to start lining up for the start of the swim at about 6:10, about 20 to 30 minutes before the race starts, and you need to be ready. So get there early, get your transition set up as quickly as you can, and then anything else that you need to do personally with warm-ups, etc., do it at the swim start, which will be 15 minutes away. One specific thing for Ironman Texas is that the transition area is actually not very well lit. So I will highly recommend that you take a headlamp with you so you can see what you're doing when you're getting your bike together before you head over to the swim start. And the swim start, that walking area, is actually pretty dark as well. Another good reason to have a headlamp. And then don't forget your hydration. It's a long time before you getting up and setting everything up. It's going to be hot and humid before the start of the race. So I would suggest 2 bottles, one with just plain water, because you can use that to rinse out your goggles at the start of the race, and then sipping on electrolytes. And then that plain water can also help you when you take that final gel right before the start of the swim. Okay, the swim course. So this is a rolling start, which means you will line up in your corral, and that's based on your ability. There are going to be signs based on a time that you expect to swim. That's where you want to stand. And then you're just going to basically walk to the edge. You're going to push off the edge and you're going to start swimming. You should have plenty of space, but I really definitely recommend that you swim as straight as possible down the buoy line. There are ways, because of the way the course curves, that you could swim extra distance. So I will say swim down the buoy line, You're obviously keeping the buoys on your left. And then the final part before you go into the waterway, which is like the chute, there are going to be 2 buoys that you need to swim through. So make sure you know where those are located before you actually get into the water. You'll be able to see them to the side. You swim through the chute into the canal, and then my recommendation is swim straight down the middle of the canal. And if you cannot do that, swim to the side where you're furthest away from your breathing. You don't want to be, if I'm breathing to the left, don't be right on the wall, because what happens is there's runoff from the wall and the water is pretty dirty, and that's just going to run off into your mouth. So I would definitely rather swim furthest away from it if you are breathing to the left, and then same thing for the right, swim furthest away to the left or just straight down the middle. So something you guys should know about Ironman Texas, it's always right on the line of whether it's going to be wetsuit legal or not wetsuit legal. It's around just over 76 degrees. If it's over that, you cannot wear a wetsuit if you want to be eligible for awards. I would suggest everyone bring both, because that water is so shallow and it really adjusts based on the temperature. If they just have one cool night next week, it can really drop the temperature. Granted, the other way around, if Friday is a hot day, you can expect the temperature could raise by 2 or 3 degrees. So be prepared for either way. Ironman Texas bike course, this is all you need to know. So the first is a little out and back. I would just use that to settle in and find your rhythm. Start to bring your heart rate down from the swim, because your heart rate is going to be its highest point of the entire day coming out of the swim. So settle in. Once you get onto the Hardy Toll Road, that's where your race starts. Going south, that's where it's going to typically be a net uphill, and it's also going to be typically a bit of a headwind, in a way that when you turn around, you are just going to be flying. So pace yourself accordingly. Then you're going to have 2 loops of that. The only thing I'll say is at the end of the 2 loops, before you're exiting, there's a really sharp right-hand turn. Really be careful. There will be signs to show you to slow down. Take notice of those signs. And then from there, it's like one little small chute back into town. Start to bring your heart rate down. Start to bring your cadence up. Outside of Ironman Texas, just know that there's going to be a lot of people. So just be safe. Legally draft so that you can use that to your advantage. But when you get around the aid stations, it's going to really crowd up. So be very vocal in what you're trying to get, and be very vocal in when you're passing people so you can have a safe ride. Know that when you're on the bike course, there are going to be aid stations every 15 miles. And so I would definitely, as you come up to the bike aid station, slow down a little bit, go into an easier gear so you can easily pedal out of the aid station, and then be ready to ask for what you need. There's typically, it's going to be water, Gatorade, there'll be gels, there'll be bananas. Start trying to get what you need right away, because if you don't grab that bottle right away, at least you got a couple more options. And then if you are trying to kind of get rid of a bottle on your bike, or you're trying to grab a bottle, fill up your front hydration and toss it, you have a certain amount of time. It will tell you where the finish point is. So make sure you slow down enough to do that. Throw away your bottle, because if you go beyond that, they could kind of pull you over or give you a card for littering. So take your time, get what you need, and then get out of there, and then be safe. The Ironman Texas Run course is 3 loops. One thing that is unique about this course is it's a lot of concrete. So if you have not prepared your legs for the concrete, you're going to feel them, and that's probably what's going to slow you down. Your legs are going to get sore. So my advice for you guys is that if there is a gravel path, or if there's some grass alongside the concrete trail, I would have you run on that. It will lessen the impact, and your legs will not hurt sooner than if you just run on the concrete trail the whole time. But of course, if you're going for speed, just run on the concrete. Outside of that, it's just staying cool. So if there's shade, try to run in it. Every aid station, make sure you're taking advantage of it. You're getting ice, you're getting water, you're staying ahead of your nutrition plan. And then it's a long day. If you do get behind on your nutrition plan, there's always an answer. You know, if you're feeling your stomach is getting upset, just switch to water, back off the carbs. If you feel like you're starting to cramp, make sure you have extra sodium on you at all times. This is actually the most common thing I see. So be prepared for things go south. Typically it can happen in these kind of conditions, but know you can correct it, get back in the race, because it is a long day. Okay, just talking about the gear that you may need for Ironman Texas. So this is a swim skin. The reason you might want to wear it is obviously it's not wetsuit legal. It goes over your kit because it's more hydrodynamic, so the water kind of wicks off you, and then it also stops your current kit from just creating drag. This will flatten it on your body because it's covering it. So this is what you definitely want to wear. It definitely saves speed. And then the other thing is the wetsuit. So this is a long sleeve sleeve wetsuit. If you have rather big shoulders, you're worried about shoulder mobility, you're worried about overheating, you might consider a sleeveless wetsuit. But if not, and as long as you pull this up correctly, then go with the sleeved wetsuit. It's going to be faster, and then you have a sleeved wetsuit because they are expensive. You have them for future races where the temperature might be really cold and you need this. Tricks on pulling this up is make sure you pull it up from the knees and pull it up as high as possible before pulling it over your body. Once it gets to the shoulder, pull it up as high as possible so that there's no tension underneath the armpits. And then if you're still struggling because you're probably sweating putting it on, then pour some water in the wetsuit, and that will help you mobilize it a little bit more over your body. If your arms do feel tired when you're racing, it's typically because you haven't pulled up your wetsuit far enough, and we don't want that to be the reason that it's slowing you down. So make sure to take the time to really pull this up. And then goggles, get something that's comfortable, make sure it doesn't leak, make sure it's not fogging. So a brand new pair of goggles, or use baby shampoo or foggy wipes to clear them on race morning. And then you can go with tinted or clear. I would say for Ironman Texas, it doesn't matter. It's whatever is the most comfortable and you have the biggest vision available to you. Okay guys, this is called Tri-Slide, but it's chafe cream, and you want to put it all over your body for a couple reasons. For the wetsuit, you definitely want it on your neck and on your arms and then on your legs, so you can not chafe your neck. You often see that when you turn your head, it just rubs a lot. So to avoid pain during the swim, pain after the swim, and then it helps you get your wetsuit off easier if you're going to wear a wetsuit. And then I would spray it pretty much on all over your body where there's maybe a zip or a seam hitting your body, because when you're racing for a long period of time, just the rubbing, you're going to chafe pretty extremely, and by the end you will be feeling that. So make sure to put chafe cream on everywhere. Guys, this is a race belt. Know that you don't need it for the bike. You only put it on for the run, and it will have your number that you'll get from the race. The way I like to put it on is I have it actually closed, and then when it's time to put it on before the run, I just kind of slide it over my head like this. You don't want to be in transition trying to clasp it, especially if maybe your fingers are about to cramp because you didn't take in enough salt. So yeah, make sure to get yourself a run belt, and then tighten it as loose or tight as you want. Most people actually like to have it kind of hanging off their hips. It's a little more comfortable. And then I always scrunch up this number, so it's just kind of laying flat on top of me versus like waving in the wind. These are Form Smart Swim 2. It's a new goggle. You guys all know about Form goggles, where it can tell your pace, your stroke rate, all the things in your eye. It's been well used by athletes, but what's unique about this new bottle is it tells you if you're swimming straight. So that is pretty cool. I definitely check it out. Yeah, just a display right here in your eye. The other thing on this model, just so you know, it also gives you your heart rate. So typically we haven't been able to accurately capture heart rate. Using your wrist watch in the pool is not accurate at all. And then this, they actually had a monitor, but now it's built into the goggles where as long as it's resting right onto the skin, it will pick up your heart rate accurately while you're swimming.